Welcome to Heartland for Children's Let's Talk About It podcast, where we provide education and resources for family matters in Polk, Highlands, and Hardy counties. We're so glad that you've joined us. So now, let's talk about it.
Welcome, world. Hello, my name is Kadian Parchment, and welcome to another episode of Heartland for Children's Let's Talk About It. Today I have a really special friend and a guest with us. Her name is Marquina, and she's going to be talking about a very interesting program that we have at Heartland for Children. So I'll give her an opportunity to introduce herself. Marquina, welcome.
Well, thank you, Kadian. Yes, I'm Marquina Butts-Fisher, Transition Age Youth Services Program Manager, formerly known as IL, and so we work with our independent living program here at Heartland for Children.
Okay, well, that's a lot, and I want to break that down a little bit. But first, I want to know a little bit about you. Tell us a little bit about how long you've been with Heartland and, you know, your job course history so far.
Yes, I've been with Heartland for 5 years. Wow. It feels like 10, but it's only been 5. Prior to coming to Heartland, I've been working with youth since I was 18. I started at Campfire USA, and then I moved into PAYS Center for Girls, where I was a counselor for 10 years. I went for a brief stint while I was pregnant with Interact Alliance as well as Career Source Polk. And then from there, I did a pregnancy prevention program with Healthy Start. And then I landed here at Heartland for Children. So youth have been my passion since the beginning.
Yeah, and I remember your days with the teen pregnancy program. So that's wonderful. It sounds like you do have a passion for children. What brought that passion along?
Well, you know, I have always worked with youth, even when I was in high school. In high school, I was a part of a program called the Del Teens, and the Del Teens helped me get out in the community, and we used to do a lot of community service with youth. And so I found my passion was more with working with children than working with older adults. And so ever since then, I've always felt like I've had the pulse on the youth. I can't dance like they do or do the teen speak because me personally, I can't take that level of disrespect, but I have been working with the youth ever since then.
Okay, well, sounds like fun. So we already know you cannot dance,
no.
But tell us some other unique, fun things about you that make you connect with the youth.
So actually, I like poetry,
okay,
and I like speaking. Years ago, when I worked with Campfire, believe it or not, I was an MC for rock shows. So I used to get on the rock shows and introduce myself as MC Shorty, while on the shows we were talking about grunge and grind, so it was all of the deep voice, rah, 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 and I would be there emceeing and interviewing the band. So yeah, there's actually a semi-fun side of me that people really don't know about.
Oh, okay, MC Shorty, nice to meet you as well. We love that about you. So, you know, it sounds like you have a passion for youth and you've worked with them in many different capacities. But what brought you into this work, working with our children in the system of care?
Well, believe it or not, my aunt, I have family who've worked with child welfare system for many, many years in Hillsborough County. And so when I was actually in college, I did a career test, and they said that my dream job would be a social worker. And I could not fathom that because, you know, when I thought of youth in care, when I thought of social workers, I thought it was long hours, rough days. But actually, I realized when working with the youth, they needed an advocate. They needed someone to be there with them. And when I was with the Teen Pregnancy Prevention Alliance, we started to partner with Heartland for Children and the Youth in Foster Care, and I saw the need. And so when the opportunity came available for me to be a part, I wanted to be a part, to advocate for the youth, to be there for the youth, and to make sure they had a voice in our system of care.
That is wonderful. I could really hear your passion coming through as you describe what you like about working with children and youth. So earlier on, you said it used to be called IL, now it's called TAYS. Give us a little bit more detail about what that transition looked like and what does IL even mean?
So 4 years ago, the child welfare system of the Department of Children and Families decided to name our program Road to Independence. And it was an opportunity for our youth to become independent in the system of care, to become productive and active citizens in our community. What happened was throughout that program, they decided to call it independent living because independently, our youth were learning to live as adults by themselves in the community without the support of the system. When we started working with One Voice Impact, Heartland for Children realized that our youth do not like the name independent living because it really doesn't define what they do and how they do it. So they decided to make the program Transition Age Youth Services, not only because it helps our youth transition from ages 18 to 23, but we realized the services needed to begin early and start at age 13. So we work with our youth transitioning on from 13 to 23, hence the name Transition Age Youth, because believe it or not, Transition Age Youth Services is just that. It's a service. We provide assistance with transition plans, advocacy is knowing what to do when you're in the court system. It's a service versus independent living, which we also provide, which help our youth to independently live.
Well, I mean, and I get it because I know even our kids who are not in the system of care, once they turn 18, they still need help.
Yes.
And so they're not really independent. They're still pretty dependent on a lot of different people. So especially this population. So I heard you touch on a couple different things that TAYS helps our children transition with as early as 13. Give us a little bit more examples of kind of what that process looks like, some things that they may be needing to help them transition.
Yes, so our youth at age 13 are introduced to what we call our life coaches. Okay. These are case managers who work with our youth solely with helping them become independent. And so our life coaches start at 13 by just introducing themselves. This is who I am, this is what I do, and I'm just here to help you on top of the already case management services you're receiving. At 14, we start to pull their credit reports. We start to make sure that they have a great credit when they leave and age out. And so the coaches are there to assist with them, review that with them, talk with them. We start introducing at 15 transition plans where we start going over with the youth, what are your goals? What are your vision? And that can be a youth who's living with a foster parent. That can be a youth getting ready to age out of the system completely. That can be a youth who is reunified with their parent. Everyone has goals, dreams, and visions. And so we want to make sure that our youth have assisted with writing down their visions, writing their goals, and making sure they also have someone to assist them with connected adults, because we know adults are important in our lives. All of us have a mentor, a friend, a grandma, an Auntie Sue, someone who connects us in our community. And so as we transition, we want to make sure that we have a supported, connected adult to be with them every step of the way.
That's great. So you brought me to my next question, because I was wondering, when we start at 13 and then we look at 14 and 15, is this specifically for kids whose parents' rights have been terminated? Or I heard you say they could still even be on the way to reunification with their parents and still be working on goals?
Yes, so our services start at 13, and that can be for youth who are about to reunify with their parents. That can be for youth who are getting ready to age out of care. The goal is from 13 to at least 16. We are assisting them and coming alongside with them to say we are here to help. At 16, we notice that that's when our youth start to making decisions as to where their goals are changing, whether they're going to be adopted or whether they're going to be with foster parents or age out of the system at care. At 17 3/4, we start to then notice whether or not they are going either for solely adoption or reunification, or if they're going to age out in care. And then if they age out in care, we give them the opportunity to be a part of our Road to Independence program, which has 3 components: extended foster care, aftercare, as well as our PostSecondary education support services program.
Wow. So that's a lot. We're going to get into those 3 programs in a minute. But before they even get to that level, what are some challenges that you see with our teenagers as they start to think about their future and what's coming up next for them?
Well, like many of us, the challenges are understanding what that future looks like. If they have not seen, and I remember when I was 18, I didn't know what I wanted to be or which direction I wanted to go in. So the challenge is knowing what that future looks like and what those steps are. And so a lot of times our youth unknowingly become anxious, they become nervous, they want to know where they're going to live. post-18 because they've been living in their group home or their foster home for so long. Now what? Where do they go now? And so we try to work with our youth to help them through that process. And there's a lot of anxiety and stress that comes along with it, but we try to ensure them through our assistance of our peer mentors and our housing specialists that they are not alone.
So that sounds wonderful. Just for clarification, if a youth is in foster care or residing with someone in a group home, once they turn 18, must they leave that setting? Is that why you have the housing specialist, or are they able to stay on longer with that family if they choose to? What does that look like?
Great question. If a youth is 18 and they're living in a foster home, they are allowed to remain in that foster placement. Because they're 18, they just have to be background screened. If they're in a group home, it's really up to the group home, but rules state that once they're an adult, they can't reside with minors. So our youth who are residing in a group home have to leave only because there are minor children in the home as well. And so for the safety of them as well as the youth, we have the youth transition to our transition homes or some of our other partnered community homes that we have.
Okay, wow, that's really great to know. So I heard you mention that you have a housing specialist. Tell us a little bit about what that role looks like and how they help to transition the youth into those homes.
Yes, so our Transition Age Youth Services Department is filled with an array of wonderful people. Okay. One of them is our housing specialist, and her job is to assist in the community, providing and reaching out to resources to have housing for our youth in care. Some of our youth live with other people, so we try to find housing that can specifically fit their needs. We have youth who live in like a college dormitory setting. They may share a common area, but they have individual rooms in that home. We have individual people who live with youth in the home because they feel that the youth need more guidance and assistance. So we try to find a variety of homes that connect our youth to the community, gives them the connected adults, and have a stable place to call home.
So with the stable place to call home, now that they're 18, are they having to get a job to pay for this?
Well, a part of our programs, we have 3: independent, extended foster care, post-secondary education support services, and aftercare. In extended foster care, when a youth turns 18, they are automatically enrolled in that program once they age out of care. One of the requirements for that program is that they must work. Now, they can do either or. They can either work or go to school, but if they are working, they have to work at least a minimum of 20 hours a week and no more than 80 hours a month. So if they work, the funds go to them. However, because they're in the extended foster care program, we pay and support them for their housing needs.
Well, that's great. I mean, because I know that our kids really do need support, especially with housing. So if they have an opportunity to work and save their money while getting those services and that support, then that's a benefit for any kid, right? So that's one of the programs. You talked about your housing specialist and the array of housing settings that the kids could go into. Who else is in your department?
So also a part of our department, we have our IL peer mentors. These are young adults who have once been in foster care themselves, who are over the age of 18, who also come alongside our youth and support them. Sometimes our youth need someone to talk to, but they don't want to talk to the case manager or a staff member as they see us. So we have our peer mentors come and support them. Sometimes knowing that someone has been there with you, has been there, done that, you're more open to talk to them than communicating with someone you don't know. And so our peer mentors go, they support, they assist, they help, and sometimes our youth reach out to them before they reach out to the case managers. And I think that is one of the jewels that Heartland for Children has added onto their program that I think has been quite an asset to our program.
I mean, it really sounds like an incredible asset, especially when we look at young adults, you know, wanting to connect with people closer to their age group, or people who have lived experiences that they could relate to. So that's a game changer, and I think it really does help them feel like they have that brother or that sister or that good friend who can really relate with them and get them through some tough times. So that's wonderful to hear. How long have you had those positions in place?
So the positions actually have been in place before I came on. So I want to believe it's been here at least 7 years or more. It has always been hard to fill because of the fact that youth find jobs that pay much higher. And so Heartland had an ear to that concern and actually increased the pay raise. And because of COVID and working from home, they also made the option available for the youth to work from home as well. And so our youth have jumped on, and we have 2 great, awesome mentors that are a part of our program that I can't wait for our team to meet.
Okay, well, I'm excited to speak to them in a little bit and hear a little bit about what they have experienced here in this position. So there's a lot going on with the programs. I know you mentioned one program. Do you want to go into a little bit more details about the other 2 programs that you offer to youth as they age out?
Awesome. Yes. The second program we offer is our Post-Secondary Education Support Services. It sounds like a mouthful, but in short, it's just PESS. PESS. And the goal of that program is for youth who want to continue post-secondary education. So that can be a trade or vocational program, or it could be a college or university. So with them participating in that program, they are allowed to go to school. They must carry at least 9 credit hours. In order for them to participate in that program, they have to have had at least completed their GED or high school diploma. They had to have aged out in care or closed permanent guardianship or was adopted, have spent at least 6 months in care prior to, but then if they've done all of those requirements and completed their Florida assessment, financial aid, or FAFSA. If they've completed FAFSA, they're allowed to be a part of our program. Now, the great thing about PESS, or the Post-Secondary Education Support Services program, is that where our youth in extended foster care may get a stipend of $200, our youth in PESS get a stipend of $1,720. So that a month. So
wow.
that is a big difference. And you know, we think it's a lot, but if you put in perspective that the housing cost has grown significantly in these past couple years, once you pay for an $1,100 apartment per se, you only have about $300 to $400, maybe $600 left. That's not including your utilities. That's not including your cell phone bill, your food for the week or the month. And so all of that tends to add up. So it's just a little assistance, but it does help our youth out. And the great thing about it is that the youth also, any youth who's been in care, any youth who has been reunified with a parent within a certain period of time, are all eligible for a tuition waiver in the state of Florida.
Okay.
That is an opportunity for them to go to school for free in any public school in the state of Florida until the age of 28.
So is this still a part of the PES program, or this is another program?
This is for any youth in care, but it complements the PES program, because if a youth is using their waiver to go to school and they're part of the PES program, it gives them a much more greater assistance as they're going through their college and university years.
So if they've been reunified with their parents, they still have an opportunity to get a waiver to go to college for free?
Yes. So if a youth has reunified with their parent, after the age of 15, what will happen is they will look to see if they meet the financial requirements for the college or university, and they could be eligible for a tuition waiver.
Wow. So that's wonderful news, even for our kids who have transitioned home. That's still another opportunity for them to just really change their life and be able to get a higher education with financial assistance.
Yes.
So I heard you say that with this tuition program, they could get assistance up until the age of 28. Does that mean that they have until that time just to get an AA degree, or what kind of degrees can they get or assistance?
Well, with the tuition waiver, the benefit is that they can get as many degrees as they can achieve until they are 28 years old.
Wow.
So some youth have utilized it to be able to become doctorates or be a part of a doctoral program. The benefit is also that there's no credit limit. So sometimes you can only achieve up to 120 credit hours in your program in order for you to participate. There is no limitation on how many credits you can earn for your program. So we know some youth, they'll go to college from a freshman year to their senior year. They may drop a few classes, add a few classes. That credit limit does not limit them. So they can be a part of the waiver, have it till they're 28, receive as many degrees as they are able to achieve, and there's no limit to how many credits they can earn.
That's wonderful. And including degrees, you also mentioned trade school. So they could also participate in trade programs and be able to get those benefits as well?
Yes, and I'm excited that we do that because now as the workforce is moving forward, everything is more digital, everything is more trade skill oriented. So yes, any youth participating in a public school in the state of Florida can participate in a trade or vocational program, and that can be nursing, it could be a digital certificate, it could be welding, whatever program that is offered in a vocational school that they would like to participate in, it is supported as well.
Wow, that is incredible. And so I know you mentioned a third program, which is an Aftercare program. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, so Aftercare is the bridge between programs. So let's say, for example, you turn 18 and you are in extended foster care and you're in high school. And so you decide, I want to go into college. But the challenge is that school doesn't start till August. You just graduated in June. What do? So if you decide you don't want to be a part of extended foster care, you can be in what we call Aftercare. Aftercare is a bridge that allows you to get time to reach the requirements for that next program you're trying to enter in while still being supported. So usually Aftercare supports youth in paying for housing if necessary. If they are in an emergency situation, let's say they were doing fine and somehow they lost their housing for whatever reason and now they're considered homeless. Through Aftercare services, we can support and pay for them for hotels and needed emergency housing needs. Sometimes youth just get into a rut. They're doing great in school and their car breaks down. That $1720 is not going to cover their funds for school. So with the Aftercare services, that supports and pays for those needs. So that way they're not losing their PES funds, for example, but they can still have payments for the car that just broke down unexpectedly.
So they could participate in both programs at the same time?
Only in PES. Extended foster care is isolated solely for that, but for the Post-Secondary Education Support Services Program, or PES, they actually this year created a new statute that allows our youth to have Aftercare service funds or PES emergency funds, as well as be a part of PES at the same time.
Wonderful. So you've given us a lot of information about great programs. You have PES, you have Aftercare, you have your peer mentors, your housing specialists, but sometimes we see that youth still don't participate in these programs. Why is that?
I think the youth, sometimes when our youth have been in care for so long, they want to be disassociated with the program. They want independence. They don't want anything to do with the Department of Children and Families, period. And so they say, you know what, I don't want to be a part. And so they have the option of opting out. But the good part about these programs is that at any time until the youth is 23 years old, they can go back and forth in the programs. So they can say, you know what, I don't want it, but then decide later, I do want to participate, and still have the opportunity to participate in these programs. And I think that's a great option about the state of Florida. Throughout the nation, we have independent living programs. However, it's the state of Florida that shines on what we serve and how we serve our kids. They offer more opportunities for our kids in care than any other state in the United States.
That's wonderful. So if an 18-year-old says, I'm good, I don't want to participate, but by the time they're 22 says, actually, I need the help, do they contact DCF? Do they contact Heartland, their case manager?
So they can contact Heartland for Children if they're in our circuit, and they will connect them. Or now our state has a new program called the Office of Continuing Care. And so if they want to reach out to the Office of Continuing Care, they can connect with them, and then the Office of Continuing Care will connect them to the CBC or lead agency that is connected with them. So that's another extended arm that we have with our CBC that helps our youth. And you know, Katie, and I want to say, although these programs sound great, the key factor of our situation is that permanency is always the best option. Having our youth connect with families, connect with adults is always number one in our goal for our youth. However, we do recognize that that always doesn't happen at the age of 18, and hence why our programs are here to support the youth.
Well, it sounds great. And I know a lot of people who are listening to this may be trying to figure out how can they become involved? What can they do to lend a helping hand? What are some ways that the average person could be involved?
Well, we could always use more transitional housing to support our youth. You can always offer to volunteer and help our youth. Come alongside them. We have a mentor program called the Heartland Mentor Program. It can be found on our Heartland for Children website, where they can then go in, sign up, register, get trained, and work with our youth one-on-one. And they can always reach out to our Transition Age Youth Services, and we can find ways for them to assist.
Because I know even sometimes if it's pots and pans and furniture for the housing for the kids, y'all accept those things as well.
Yes, Katie, and you were reading my mind. Donations are always welcome. As our youth transition into their apartments, as they transition into their other homes, they can always use things: towels, sheets, blankets, forks, spoons, bedding. Anything you can think of are needed for a household, our youth can benefit from.
And what about youth that are transitioning now who may have children of their own?
We always have services for our moms with children. We have transition homes for them as well, and we give them an extra, if they're in extended foster care, an extra stipend to assist them with their children. But our moms can always use beds for their youth, car seats for our youth, baby needs such as formula and clothing, because they are moms in care, but they also have children themselves, and they do a phenomenal job mothering their children and taking care of them, and can use those assistants as well.
As well as a mentor, right? Someone
Yes.
to help guide them along with parenting skills. Sounds wonderful. So before we end, do you have any success stories or anything that you would like to share with us?
Yes, in my 5 years of being here, I've not come across a lot of youth, but I can tell you we have had quite a few success stories. There was this one youth in general. She was a mother of a child as well, and she was living on her own. She started when she aged out to live with her sister. And while she was living with her sister, she had her mother with her and her mother's family with her, and it was a crowded house. Her sister decided to go into the military, who was also a part of our program, but she said she wanted to do more for her and her children. And so as she was working with her son, she was trying to finish school, she was working, and then she heard about our Heartland for Children IL Peer Mentor program. She reached out to us and she decided to sign up as a peer mentor. And ever since, she has been able to find permanent housing for her son. She has been working really hard with our program and connecting with our youth, and she has been a joy to have. And I am really proud of her progress in our program.
Wow, sounds wonderful. And that's just one of, I'm sure, many success stories that we'll hear as this program develops and grows and has already taken place. So are there any parting words that you would like to leave us with?
Our youth need advocates, and each and every one of us can advocate and be a voice for our youth at any time. Transition Age Youth Services is a wonderful program, and I'm excited that our state continues to support our services, but our youth always need that connected adult. So anywhere, in any way, any one of you can connect with our youth in any way, shape, and form, do so. Not only will it benefit you, but it will benefit our future as well.
Sounds wonderful, and I'm sure the contact information for this department will be on the bottom of our screen. And so thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
And I look forward to hearing more success stories with the program and the mentoring program really expanding and helping our youth.
Thank you for listening to Heartland for Children's Let's Talk About It podcast. There is a great need for foster families who are willing to open their hearts and homes to teens, sibling groups, and children with special needs. To learn more, check out the description for resources or visit heartlandforchildren.org.